Hello Insiders! My name is Lauren and I work on the Creator Insider team. And if you guys like Creator Insider, make sure to subscribe and like this video and leave some comments and questions down below. Today we're here with Meg, who's a strategic partner manager at YouTube, and she's going to be doing a little channel review for us. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi everyone. So my name's Meg and I'm what's known as an SPM or a strategic partner manager. And what that means is I work with some of our top creators, and I specifically work in the gaming vertical. And I've been doing this job for about 4 years, actually this month.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while and it's great. I've worked with over 100 creators. I've met a lot just along the way, and I'm very passionate about some of the things I do with my top creators, you know, that any creator can kind of find those insights. And I really wanted to come today and start sharing some basic tips about analytics. And I've kind of distilled just some building blocks down to 3 major points for today. But if you have things you want to cover or questions, like I just got a ping the other day, like should I focus on watch time or views, put that in the comments below and we'll continue to dig through what topics interest you guys the most.
Great. So why don't we just start off by talking about what a strategic partner manager is. So what exactly do you do here? Who do you manage? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I work with the top gaming creators, specifically in North America. I work with some big people like Markiplier, MatPat, I just got Ninja, Game Grumps, IS Cupquake, Stacey Plays. I am kind of a catch-all, but similar to a Hollywood agent with tech support.
Okay.
And so I will, if these creators have a problem with their channel, I will try and help look into it. We'll do channel reviews like we're talking about today. Sometimes we'll bring them different various business deals through FameBit, which any creator, I believe, or almost any creator can sign up for.
We did a video on FameBit too, so we'll link that down below.
Yeah, definitely check it out. It's a great service. And yeah, it's kind of anything and everything in between. Organizing a panel at PAX West coming up here soon. GDC, the Game Awards every year, and I'm there with my creators hanging out.
Great. That sounds like an awesome job.
Yeah, it's fun. It can be very busy, but I'm a gamer at heart too, so it's really some days I'm like, I can't believe I get paid to do this job because I get to work with awesome creators who are creative. And I have every excuse in the world to be like, well, I really need to play Fortnite because my creators play Fortnite, so I need to know about Fortnite.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So you have our analytics up right now, and you're going to give us 3 building blocks that every creator should know to better understand their channel.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right.
The first point is I really like looking at analytics and channel performance in trends, right?
Okay.
You really need to give yourself context of what the channel has done before, why you might be up or down either way, and it will help you interpret when you come in and see, you know, there's red here and there's 2 greens. So if you were to log in and see these 2 greens right here at this view for the last month, you're like, doing pretty well.
Yeah.
I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, but you kind of sell yourself short by not giving yourself more context. So first, I actually change it from 28 days to the last 90 days.
And why is that?
Yeah, and that's a good question. I feel like it kind of normalizes any outliers in the last couple months, good or bad, and you're going to get a little bit more glimpse of seasonality, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Okay.
But it just helps give you a better range. And so, of course, now that we've done that, we see red. And
yeah,
it's probably
yikes.
scary.
Wow, okay. Explain, kind of walk us through why that's happening.
Yeah, so, and this leads to really the next point is, you know, we're looking at the trends, but we want to use the comparison tool. And that to me is one of the most powerful tools. Let's check to see if this is what was happening last year on the channel.
Okay.
So I do a year-over-year comparison. So I click the comparison button, and then what I do is I look at the same time period the year before. We'll put those in there. I'm going to apply. And so the orange is for the year previous and blue is for this year.
Great, so we're actually way up from last year.
Yeah, so for me, I'd be like, wow, okay, so first you guys should feel really proud and happy that you've grown so much. Like, this is like 10x in like this first one, right? Just for watch time.
That is pretty wild, actually, seeing those two graphs next to each other.
Yeah, and then, you know, the average view duration's up, so people are not only like coming back and watching more, but they're staying around longer on each video. So you guys are doing like a really good job of picking topics that and like things that interest people that they want to stick around and watch, which is great. But
Cool.
yeah, so year over year, right, it looks good, but we still saw that negative. And
Right.
so let's dig into that. So when I cancel the comparison and go back and I hover over here, it's showing me what it's actually comparing to, and you can see it's comparing to the previous period. So I think the next best step to understand why these numbers are trending down is to see what did we do the 90 days prior.
Okay.
And so those dates specifically are February 7th to May 7th. So I'm going to do another comparison.
Okay.
Change the dates here to February 7th to May 7th. And click apply. And so the orange, right, is that month prior. So there's some big spikes that are in there. And so that to me is like, okay, what content was coming out that people were really into? And this is where you start to do a little bit more analysis. And it's like, was I capitalizing on a trend at the moment? What time of year was it? And considering the time of year is not typically a high month for traffic, at least in the United States, the next hunch I have is to look at, what videos came out. So let's click into watch time.
Okay.
Let's look. And you get this high level view up here. But again, this orange is just like really crazy. And so right now it's comparing the video for blue is right the current period, orange is going to be the previous period. And you can look through. And so people, this first one, and I looked at this earlier, wasn't actually published during that time frame. It was published last year. And
interesting. So why is it coming up in this this report?
Yeah, and so when I clicked in and I did a little research, and this is the thing about analytics, it's so powerful. You can continue to like rabbit hole in, and so we'll probably use an example like this in another video. But when I did look, there's a lot of traffic for some reason coming from Russia.
Okay.
And so from there, what I would probably do is then go look at traffic sources, try to analyze, was it posted on a specific page? Was there a more recent video that was triggering that video to be suggested? Or a question, and I don't know if you know this, was did you guys maybe add Russian captions for the first time to that video, or did a fan do it?
Not to my knowledge. No, we didn't localize it in Russian, but
that's fair.
But is it possible that someone retweeted it or
Absolutely.
reposted it, and that's how it got this traffic?
Yeah, and so those can all be things you would then dig into. Be aware of what videos are performing well on your channel, and kind of check back in, because these videos might help push your viewers to newer things they're doing on the channel.
So you're saying even if we have a video that's performing super well still and it's from last year, we should be updating, say, the end screens and the description to include newer content, so we're pushing our viewers that continually see this video to our most recent content.
Absolutely. And you don't need to do it like every day. That's like would be maddening and like too much work.
Yeah.
But it's like just get it like a flavor, like check in once a month of, where are these happening. But
interesting. So that's something I wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but still looking at this time period, there were things that were updated, that were posted with like close, if not in the time period. This was a little bit before.
Okay.
But this second video, right, the YouTube Partner Program, was just so impactful to the community in such a large way. And that may not be something you're going to necessarily like replicate. So when you go back and look at these numbers, right, like that's just like, we'll have these topics on those channels that sometimes they're just going to really hit, and it's exactly what you're, and this is like for anyone, right? Like with your channel, it's knowing your audience, knowing what they're really interested in, making sure like you're being timely and on topic, and you can see these spikes.
So is there any way to dig into like high level trends just to give us an idea of like in our vertical what people are talking about at the moment? I know we've got an interesting vertical, but for
Yeah.
other people who are either in gaming or fashion or beauty,
Sure.
what can they do?
So I would say a great tool to use as well, kind of outside of this, is google.com/trends.
Okay.
And I think that could actually be a really interesting topic. So comment below, like, on how you find your trends. But I think we could dig into, like, you know, maybe we could do a fashion and gaming one and see what we can find, and just like how, you know, topics that seem completely polarized, how they can still use the same tools and resources to like make sure they're staying topical to what's happening in the community.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so to go back to this real quick, so even though, right, when we cancel that comparison and we see that like it's down compared to the last 90 days, I think a really good thing to keep in mind was, I think, just like kind of a little bit of an anomaly, which again, we're not doing a full dig into today, but we talked about how we could, and even that second video of like changes to the YPP program, right? Like those are just such big topics that, you know, you're going to have that lightning in a bottle moment sometimes, and sometimes you won't. And that doesn't necessarily mean right now is bad. It's just, this is a straight machine comparison of what is now and what came before it.
It's actually a good point. So comment below on the series you like best, so we know what topics to cover in the future. I think we have kind of a general idea, but if you have something specifically that you'd like us to dive into more, please leave us a comment below and we'll make a video on it. Yeah, so tell us about seasonality. You mentioned that before. What are our takeaways for that?
Yeah, so that's like the third major point I really want to cover today, and that is around just, you should expect your analytics to ebb and flow a little bit. Like, frankly, it's going to be different for every single channel.
Yeah.
Obviously, we hope everyone to just be like up and up and always green. But the reality is, it's just not going to happen because YouTube as a platform has ebbs and flows. And so, at least speaking from a North American standpoint, or I would say Northern Hemisphere standpoint that follows a similar school schedule, you're going to see that the very start of the year, January, February, those months are just dead.
Okay.
And it's because kids are back in school, whether it's like grade schoolers to middle, high school, or even college kids, right? Like you're back and focused on school. You're not having all that free time to watch YouTube. You know, you should always dig in a layer to like, what is your age demo? But I would say for most of the platform, they're gonna be a little bit subject to the seasonality.
Okay.
And then, you know, from about March, it kind of slowly creeps back up. Like, you have kids who are on spring break, and then they might get out a little bit earlier depending on what kind of school they have. And then you really kind of peak in June, I would say, every year. Like June, maybe July, because by July, I feel like a lot of families tend to do vacations and stuff. And then by August, depending on how soon kids go back to school, you also kind of see it starting to come back down.
Okay. And what about the holidays? Are those pretty dead?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
So fall time, right? Like, you'll see a spike around Halloween. You'll see kind of, and then you'll start to see a trend back up from about Thanksgiving through the New Year. And so that's where you see a lot of people do like Vlogmas and stuff like that.
So I have a question. Say you wanted to experiment and kind of pivot your channel a little, and you wanted to introduce some new content. When do you think is the best time? Would you do that in like the slower times to see how it's received, or would you really go for like June or the holidays and really just get it out there when your audience is strongest?
That's actually a really good question. I think my gut would say with any time you're switching content, it's to, first you got to take your viewers on the journey with you. I think anyone can pivot to different content, and there's some realities, like if you want to do a hard pivot, no matter the time of year, you might expect to lose viewers because they subscribed for one thing and it's now something different. But I would probably focus on the earlier months out of the year. Just because if people are getting off and they're like, great, I'm going to watch YouTube like my first week out of school, and it's like my favorite YouTuber is doing something completely different, I've never seen it before, that won't land so well. So it's better to, like, in this again, ramp up into anything, introduce like content once a week over a couple weeks, depending on what your schedule is.
Got it.
And start testing it out and doing something, a new thing once is probably too little. Again, we want to look at trends. Yeah, like that's what I'm really hoping, you know, with these 3 basic building blocks we kind of covered today and what questions you guys have, we can continue to like dig deeper using Creator Insider as an example, but maybe cover some of these examples and do that rabbit hole, like pick a topic, like one specific topic, and then just go deep into like understanding and how we kind of like problem solve, if you will.
Can you just be on hand for us all the time?
Yeah,
every single video we put out.
Yeah, because I think it'd be actually good to go through at another time, just because I know we don't want this to run too long.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so recap for us what your favorite 3 building blocks are.
Yeah, so always remember, don't focus in on like too specific of a stat or video. It's about the trends. Use that comparison tool. Look at year over year, quarter over quarter, and understand what videos and habits you were doing. We actually didn't talk about habits today, but you know, were you posting less? Were you posting more? Were you consistent? And what were the topics of what you were covering? And can you add additional context? And then 3, expect seasonality. Expect things to ebb and flow for your channel, and learn what is typical for your channel.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to us.
Absolutely.
Everyone, if you have questions, you have individual questions that you'd like Meg to kind of dig into.
Yeah.
We can make another video, have her come back and answer some of those. Leave them below, and we'll make sure to get to them.
Absolutely.
And when we post this video, Meg will be on hand,
yes,
answering questions and saying hello. So
yeah,
don't forget to like and subscribe as well, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.